Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake. Myself, Jake Storielli, BBD on the 1s, 2s, and 3s, and a special biannual, maybe just Trevor Plouffe is here with us. And it's yucking ball season.
Or are you going to yuck ball a little bit today?
But I gave you the option, Trev. We peel back the curtains. We're live from the Corona House. We're at the All-Star game, just like feet down the road. Please don't come find our house. We had that happen in L.A. Scary. I gave Trev the option. I said, you know what? We did an episode where I was like, hey, let's yuck ball and be almost like a little more honest. It sounds rude to talk in baseball, but, you know, we have to filter some thoughts where you can't be like, hey, that Red Series didn't mean shit.
Is that what you do here? Unfiltered, Jake?
Unfiltered. You get the real talk.
Okay.
I said the other idea, that's something I've been brewing for a little bit, because it's the All-Star break. It's a good check-in time. I said, let's do a bell curve grading system, which why that's something that is in my head anyways is whatever. But I always liked the concept of it. Like, hey, I kind of hated the classes where like 20 people were like, we got A's. It's like, okay. So we weren't competing.
Okay.
So the bell curve, we've done it our way, obviously, but I put it at
first I want to just let the audience know we were like, "What's a bell curve?"
Yeah, we had to Google it.
Like we knew what it was, sort of.
We heard it and it's like, let's double check the math. I wasn't part of that conversation. I could have.
I think it's more like grading on a curve for us this time, except we are going to use the bell because we're going to only have a few at the top, a few at the bottom.
Well, and I should clarify, bell curve has helped me before. There was a statistics class I took that like everyone was failing, so he bell curved everyone up.
Yeah, of course.
So that was a beauty.
That's when it's great.
Sorry for those who achieved in school. We looked at the numbers, and basically we would have had to give like one team an A, and that would have been pretty ugly. So we've made our own bell curve. We've gone 3 A's, 7 B's, 10 C's, 7 D's, 3 F's. So basically you get 10 on the bottom, D and F. You got 10 in the middle with C. And you got 10 as kind of upper echelon, which is going to sting a couple teams because there's going to be some playoff teams that are kind of C's.
Sure, but that's fine with them because their expectations were high. I'm going to keep track right here because I just remembered we probably should do that.
Yeah, and well, you know, I got my guys here, and I think we want to start from the bottom.
And we're going to go quickly through this.
Yeah, because there's a lot of teams, so we're going to try not to get hung up along the way. Obviously, there's a couple good discussion points that we'll hit, and we'll work our way up with the Fs. So we have to give out 3 Fs to teams in the first half of this baseball season. I think there's one team that we consensus agreed on that would be the click if we wanted to make this the clip socials put out. I'd rather not because this fan base especially doesn't like Yankee fans. I think the F that makes the most sense of all the Fs is the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely one of the teams that I thought of and going by expectations before the season and what I think this roster actually could like achieve, where they're at right now is just not acceptable. And I'm going to tell you guys where they're at right now. They're 10 games back of the wild card. Okay, so before the season, they had an 86.5 over-under total. That was from DraftKings. You and Jimmy had them over. I said, I think it's over, but the line's a trap, so I went under.
Nice.
And right now, I mean, this was a while back. I mean, they're on pace for 73 wins. I think it's even lower than that now. They have an underachieving offense. I think an underachieving pitching staff. Right now, they're 18th in WHIP, 13th in ERA. Their bullpen's been a disaster. Alek Manoah, who was coming off a second in the Cy Young not too long ago, has just turned into, something that we don't really understand what's going on there. So from where their expectations were, and this is Vladdy and Bo second to last year there if they don't get up. It's this core that they had and they were building around hasn't produced really anything. And here they are, again, 10 games out of the wild card as we speak.
God. Yeah, and I mean, the teams behind them in the American League, the Angels, the Athletics, and the White Sox. I mean, that's
So they're our first F team, and I don't think Toronto fans will be upset about it. To be honest with you, I think they'll understand. Yeah, it hasn't gone well.
Right, like Blue Jay fans, I'm assuming you agree. Obviously, feel free to comment as always, but I don't even know how you could spin it. You can't spin it as a C. Like this is kind of passable. Like no, you're last in the East. Red Sox, Rays, and when you do zoom out to that bigger picture. They're also 8th in payroll. I wanted to bring that up.
That's what I'm saying. They've constructed a roster. They've brought guys in. They've made trades. They've made additions to really the starting staff a lot. But it just hasn't gone their way, man. And I think we should move on to the next team.
Okay.
And I think we can go quickly. Well, not really. We can go quickly with this one. Yeah. For me, it's the Chicago White Sox. They have been the most talked about disaster in the big leagues. They have the worst record in the big leagues right now, 27-71. Coach, that's a 276 winning percentage.
Whoa.
Let me repeat that to you guys, 27-71. And I don't think they had a lot of expectations coming into this year. Chris Getz, new GM takes over, still has some decent players on the roster. I've been championing this roster since 2021, whatever the heck it was. They haven't done anything. But it's been worse. It's been worse than that. Every team is using them as a get-right series. They did have Garrett Crochet become one of the better starters in all of the big leagues, so that's awesome for you, but they're going to trade him.
And, that's about it. Fetty, that might be a trade thing for them. Luis Robert might be done. Eloy, we talked about the Blue Jays' young core. Since the White Sox have landed where they are, we don't even talk about that anymore. But this was, a few years ago, a young core that was supposed to compete. Trev, you won me over because at first I was like, we're giving the White Sox an F. It kind of is what it is. You hit me with the broadcast crew is sold on them so hard. That
they're post-game show.
Yes.
The post-game show, the broadcast, the new guy, he's been all about them, and he wants to fight the other teams, and that's a little interesting. So maybe he's part of the reason they're there.
Ozzy, on
the other hand, and I forget the other guy's name. If you look that up, Beavers, for us. But it's the post-game show. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but you can tune into that and be pretty entertained. And I'm halfway man, that I can't really get on board with it. Then halfway, I'm this is hilarious.
Yeah, right?
They're
entertaining.
Over them.
How else do you have people watch that post-game show? I think the final F, which this one can be quick, I think it's Miami. There's a team we'll talk about, or a few teams in the D section. But Miami, it was when we were doing their TPP, they were a playoff team last year, and we were like, what? Miami? And we've done the same. We'll talk about Seattle. We laugh whenever we talk about Seattle on Talking Baseball because we're like, it's been the same thing for 3 years now, it feels like. Miami, it feels like it's been the same thing, just with gaps of winning and losing, and they are worst record in the NL. They were a playoff team last year. I know it's expanded playoffs or whatever, but they're not. They're the worst team. Worse than the Rockies. Worse than whoever you want in the NL.
They got dealt a ton of blows, to their pitching staff, which was their calling card. Right now, any way you cook it, 29th in OPS. That's tough. 29th in ERA for their starters. The bullpen, 15th in ERA. So they got some guys doing it, but that's not going to get anything done. But again, I think you have to mention the injuries. You got Sandy, you got Braxton, you got Jesus Lizard, you got Yuri Perez, you got Sixto Sanchez, Ryan Weathers. That's a lot of people on the IL.
Is that a Jesus Lizard?
Yeah, so it's it's not good down there. Chisholm seems to be on the move. People are looking at him. They're playing him at second base now to up his trade value. So I think there was some real expectations coming in. I guess, they needed offense. They didn't do much to go get it. 78.5 was their over-under. And right now their record is 33-63. That's a .344 winning percentage. So, yeah, they're an F-tier team for me. Is that what we're calling it?
I guess so. This is like an old school tier list. This is
before them youngins got in there.
we'd call them bell curves. Okay, so those are the Fs for now. We're going to have 7 Ds. So let's each maybe nominate 2.
Okay.
You nominate 2, because I've got 2 that jump out.
The Oakland A's had zero expectations. They're moving out of Oakland. Everything is bad, as opposed to that song, Everything is Awesome. Opposite of that. They were 56.5 over/under. We took the under on that.
Throw the
all of
Rocks
us.
in there too. Like Rockies and A's are same and same. Like no expectations. It's been bad, and like I feel bad for both franchises for different reasons.
The Rockies at least have. I mean,
Brenton
I guess
Doyle,
look,
baby, we love him.
A's, great job on Mason Miller. What are you going to do with them?
JJ Bleday.
Lawrence Butler went yard 3 times today.
L-Butt.
And then the Rockies, McMahon's probably a trade piece for them. Nolan
It should
Jones
be.
is a guy. Bryant's had some interesting quotes this year and hasn't been on the field. So, yeah, I think they're a D team.
Hard to give them a C anywhere. The team that I thought could have been a borderline F, I mentioned payrolls before. It's a team I've been tough on. And you countered well and accurately. The Chicago Cubs, they were the favorites in the division, gambling-wise, coming into the season. They have thought they're in a window or starting a window. But between, I don't know, their free agent moves, their top prospects, nothing's really come together that for the 7th highest payroll, to have a record of, 46-51? Did they win today?
47-51.
47
They're
and
3.5 games back out of the wild card. So there is a glimmer of hope here. That whole NL Central has been jumbled up just like we thought it would be.
Right. But the Cubs were supposed to be...
Dude, didn't you see their promotion for CubsCon?
Don't. You know what that gets me.
Didn't you see that?
That gets me.
They got Craig Counsell.
I'm not a
Problem solved.
Dude, when you've got Hall of Famers on the bottom row of that Lollapalooza poster, what are we doing?
Bellinger just broke his finger, I believe.
Yeah.
It's been tough. Ian Happ, you've been crushing it as of late.
Obviously.
Good for you. Yeah. So that's your D team, huh? One of them?
I mean, they were close to an F for me, but when you actually look at the standings and like if the Cubs get hot out of the break and they go 10-3, they're actually going to be sitting okay. But between expectations, payroll, and who they should be in that division,
their over-under was 84.5. We all took the over. You said 87 wins. And we had this on pace at June 26th, so it doesn't matter. But at that point,
it's going to be
they're on pace
interesting.
for 75 wins.
Will they add? Or what do they do? Because last year, remember,
we talked about this a lot. I've talked about this a lot, either with you or with Chris Rose. I don't know. But they kind of have, like, their guys.
Yeah.
So they either, like, strip it completely down or – I mean, their guys are kind of there. Either they have long-term contracts or they're under team control for a while. Like Shota's been great for them.
Yeah.
I actually had one pitcher reach out to me. Let's just sidebar this real quick.
Wow.
Paul Skeens starting the All-Star game. I think we all think it's a good thing. I said to Chris, I know all around baseball right now, baseball players are like, nah, this ain't it. Because there's such a hierarchy, like it means something to starting pitchers to start the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of older guys being like, no. Like, you got to earn it. 11 starts, and one pitcher reached out to me and said, hey, man, why didn't we give it to Shota Imanaga? Do you remember what he did for his first 11 starts?
Right.
He barely gave up a run. So, like, I think Skeens is the right play right now.
Yeah.
But whatever.
I see both sides of it because it's.
How did we get there?
He should be displayed in front of baseball because he does look like he's next. I had Tiger fan tweeted us and was like, you guys not really caring about Tarek Skubal starting the All-Star game, that kind of hurts me. And I was like, damn, I get that. Yeah. Like, Skubal kind of has the best. He's a good young pitcher, but we don't care as much because he hasn't had the hype train. How many D
That's
teams
3
do
for
we
us.
have?
I got to give you a D right now.
Okay, I've got 2.
Well, it's my turn.
Okay.
I mean, this is easy for me to say. It's the Los Angeles Angels.
Yeah, I think we just checked that box. Halo fans, if you're listening.
Trout came out freaking hot. Now, on the IL. Nothing really has gone great for them. My guy Willie Calhoun did hit a walk-off homer 2 nights ago. That was nice. But it's just they didn't really have a lot of expectations coming into this year. You lose Shohei, they're gone. Angels, D-tier.
I want to double down out west.
Okay.
Texas Rangers, right? They're 46 and 50. They won the World Series last year.
It's not a hangover anymore. Hangovers end.
Ooh.
Hangovers end. They had 89.5 over/under. You went under, and you said you already regret it. Jimmy and I both went over, and right now they are 46 and 50. They're 7.5 games out of the wild card.
They've salvaged it just a little bit at the end, but I don't know if D means disappointing. but they have been.
I think they have been disappointing. I mean, they've dealt with a ton of injuries, some underperformances from their offense. I mean, look, they had a couple guys. Josh Smith has been really good for them, and Seager's come on extremely strong. Somehow Marcus Semien is starting the All-Star game. I'm going to see him tonight. Love you, Marcus. But with Jose Altuve out, he's starting. They're closer in the division, 5.5 games back. Mariners fans, how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, right.
Right now, and we're going to get to
Mariners.
them. Houston Astros 1.5 out, Rangers 5.5 out, and they've been slowly sliding down.
All
so
right.
I guess with expectations, I can agree with you on the Rangers. I think, is there a path back for them? I mean, their GM said we're going to sell unless there's a drastic turnaround, and they've done it.
I mean, the changes it's not changes they have to make. It's Marcus Semien. You've got 2 weeks to get hot. Seager, you've kind of gotten hot. Adolis, like his numbers on the year are not where they need to be. Scherzer just came back. So it's fun and it's scary if you're a Rangers fan because the next 2 weeks, if you get hot, I think you're one of the scariest teams in the AL. If you don't, you're selling, and you should be. This is where things get ugly. We need
I think I got
we
one.
need 2 more D teams. I think I've got 1.
Okay.
I might have 2. Who's the team you see?
I'm going to go Nationals.
Okay.
Like, that's a tough one. I think they could be a C team. And they have shown, like, flashes of, James Wood coming up, and C.J. Abrams is hitting absolute tank shots all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Really nice to see there. Jake Irvin's been great. So there has been good things happening, but they got to 500.
It's been an ugly stretch.
And then they've really slipped down. They're 44-53 right now. They're 18.5 games back in the division because the Phillies are so strong. And then in the wild card, Jake, they've slipped. They're 6 games back. They're away from that tier. The Giants and the Cubs are 3.5 games back. There's a couple teams closer than that, but 4 more teams in front of them. So, I mean, they're the 3rd worst record in the National League. So
it's fallen off.
Although the expectations weren't there, so maybe they don't deserve a D ranking. I think that because of what they showed, and we're like, hey, this team could go, and maybe they're going to add. They've just slid.
So how about this?
Okay.
I've got 3 teams that I think are eligible. I think the Nats are them.
Okay.
I think these other 2 teams, if you can separate them for better or worse, I'm fine with it. Or these teams kind of pair together better than the Nats, who didn't have expectations and have seen a lot of young guys play good ball. The 2 teams that jump out are San Francisco and Detroit.
Okay.
Both teams came into this year wanting to be punchy wild card teams, and at the end of the first half, they're not. I mean, the Giants are looking up.
So if I have to help you make this, because the last one in our D tier, I'll go Tigers.
Okay.
They've had good things happen. Look, Flaherty was a great sign. You're going to trade him. Tarek Skubal, he's probably going to win the Cy Young in the AL. He's a stud. There's no doubt about it. But you're not.
Torkelson.
Yeah. You're 3 games back of 500. You're 7 games back of the wild card. What was the over-under here, Jake? The over-under for the Detroit Tigers was 80.5. We all took the over. I said 81 wins exactly.
Yeah.
And
they still can.
They still can get that. But
how about this? Their wild card hopes are done.
Yes, they're not a playoff team this year. They're not a playoff team this year, and they've had aspirations of taking the next step
for a while,
many times. And if you were to tell them before the year that Scoobs was going to pitch the way he pitched, and the signing of Jack Flaherty was going to work out the way it's worked out, which is he's one of the better pitchers in the American League, striking out 1 million people. They would have expected to be higher. So I think that's where I'm at. Riley Green, hey, you're a guy.
Hey, Torkelson.
Matt Vierling.
Okay.
Javi Baez.
Yeah, I mean, they brought in Hinch. They brought in Baez. It's time in Detroit Motor City, and it has been the opposite.
I'm not ready to put the Giants in that tier because I don't really know what they're – I mean, they made –
You kind of like the Giants.
I do. I mean, they're
everyone kind of likes.
They're
the Giants.
3.5 games out of the wild card, so I think they're going to be a C team for us. They can be our first.
That's fair.
They can be our first C team.
Detroit. If someone sold me and they were like, "Hey, dude, the Giants are going to have a big second half. They got some starting pitching coming. Elliott Ron, blah blah blah."
This is not a ranking,
no.
these C teams can be
That's a
jumbled
grade.
up because I think the Rays are probably
we're the nutty
to me
professors.
lower than the Giants right now as far as expectations and stuff like that. But we're not doing that. So Giants are going to be our first team in the C.
So how about this? I figured this out. So Nationals and Detroit Tigers round out the D section.
Yeah.
Rockies, Cubs, Angels, Texas, Nats, Tigers. So this is how this is going to work, Trev. I say we jump up to AB now because that's easier than doing 10C teams. And that'll leave us the 10C teams. You know what I'm saying?
Up to you. This is your show.
I think so.
I was kind of having that.
If we get caught up in 10C teams, we could be here.
I think we could rattle them off.
You might not be.
C teams are just, they are what they are.
Then you know what, King? Cook. This is why we do it.
Okay.
This is why the Wake and J crew
your
loves.
C teams ready to rip.
Yeah, Giants are one of them. They're on their way. Like, people are talking, hey, we're getting Robbie Ray back. Snell came back, for the second time maybe, and he's looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Elliot Ramos has been a revelation. Like, they're starting to go a little bit. Their ex-third baseman, Evan Longoria, threw a great first pitch the other night. Stud. So I think they're there. Their over-under to begin the year was 81.5, and they're basically on pace for that. Because right now, Jake, they are sitting at 46 and 50, so they're a little bit under there. But they're 3.5 games back of the wild card. I think we can talk about pretty much the entire NL Central.
Reds in Pittsburgh, it's tough to give them a higher grade.
Reds, I think, and I'm going to talk about them on TB, and I don't want to give too much away there. I bought Red stock.
Really?
Yeah.
I've always been on the train. It's just been an ugly start.
But they
got some bodies.
So far this year.
They're getting new bodies.
And their pitching has actually been pretty good.
Yeah. That was supposed to be their Achilles heel.
They're not far away. But as far as expectations for the year and where they're at, they're 3 games back. I think they should be there. I think the Pirates, gosh, they're almost a B team for me. Because of what
I think when we get to B teams, we're going to see they're not. But seeing their record at 500 going into the All-Star break, it does feel a little better. But I think bell curve world, I think they're a C.
Okay, so we went Giants and we went
Reds, Pirates.
And Pirates, okay.
So we need 7 more teams.
Well, I think that's pretty easy, Coach. I think we can go and say that the Rays are one of them. They're sitting directly at 500. Yeah. Their over/under was at 86.5 or 84.5. We jumped at it. They've been dealing with injuries. They've shipped some people out. They traded Aaron Savale, who they went and got, which is interesting.
The C area is a little bit of stock.
You can buy some stock.
I've got a little bit of Rays stock. The names have changed. Brandon Lau is back. Josh Lowe has been around. Always ESOC. But even they're with their 2 trades, they traded Savali and Maton. It's like addition by subtraction. They got something back, and they're calling up guys that are Rays guys.
Taj Bradley has had a really nice stretch of starts. Their offense is that's been the thing. Last year when they went undefeated in April, their offense was just the best.
Right.
And it just hasn't been the best. It's been pretty bad. I'll also go, I think Arizona Diamondbacks deserve to be in this tier, coming off a World Series bid, made some improvements, even though some guys we haven't even seen yet. They're on the way up, but
well, if you put them, you have to put San Diego, dude.
I think I'm going to. 49,
okay, let's do it for now.
49 and 47, they're a couple games over 500. I think if you told them that prior to the year, they'd be like, yeah, that seems okay.
Yeah.
That's not great for them.
We've wanted more.
Yes.
We've wanted more from both teams. Let's put them there now and see what it feels like.
Corbin Carroll is going off.
Yeah.
That's
dude,
what they
baseball's
needed.
Such a sick sport.
It is a sick sport.
The fact that he could just he can look like that for 2 months and then it just comes.
We're going Padres after that. They're sitting 2 games over 5. They're only a half game out of the wild card. But they're coming. They're I like the Padres, and I think Preller is going to do something. They've had some really good success stories there as well. Waldron's been a success story. Jackson Merrill has been a success story. Jerkson Profar has been a success story. Fernando Tatis, I think, is going to be out for quite some time.
Yeah,
which kind of sucks. I'm curious to see what they do. But again, 2 games over 500. I think if you asked the fan base prior to the year, they'd be like, all right, where are we at? And he said, half game back to the wild card. All right, we like that. But they're not. That's not overachieving.
Right.
I think they're achieving kind of fairly, or maybe even a little bit under.
So that's one.
They've dealt with some injuries to the staff as well. All that stuff. But I think that's a good tier for them.
This is where things are going to get ugly.
I think the Houston Astros are in this tier.
I think you're right. I'm glad you said it. That sounds a little better than coming from the Yankee mouth. But they've erased a lot of it recently.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But that's because they were an F.
They're 1.5 out of the West right now.
Right. They were in F. They're currently not in the playoffs, right?
I think they are.
No, they're out.
Are they?
They're further back in the wild card than the West.
You're right. They're 1.5 out of the West, 3.5 of the wild card. Yeah, that's.
I mean, there's an argument for lower that C. I think that's.
They're like a C minus. These C's aren't ranked as we do. Yeah. They're like a C minus as far as expectations.
I think we feel they get the C because they've been the good student that's shown they're coming.
Yes.
That by the end of the year,
they're improving.
Their numbers are going to be
Everyone
fine.
is terrified of the Astros right now. Are you kidding me?
I've got the other one that I think would be kind of clicky is Atlanta.
I'm in on Atlanta.
For C.
They've had good Ronaldo Lopez he just got qualified. He's got like the best ERA in the NL. Chris Sale has been incredible, but
how nuts is that? If you told us Sale is going to be a Cy Young contender and Ronaldo Lopez, we would have said the Braves were 10 up right now. They're 9 back of Philly.
And they are currently not. Oh, they are. They're leading the wild card. Excuse me.
Can I tell the people what name you just put for Braves?
I was thinking about, look, they lost this guy.
Trevor, he's writing down each team, and he meant to write Braves, but he was doing when you write your thoughts. He wrote Acuna.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, you lose Acuna. You had some guys
that's tough.
Early on in the season not perform to expectations. Matt Olson, Austin Riley, they're starting.
Murphy was out.
They're starting to come on very strong. So they're on their way up. They're of the. Not on the way up. They're there.
They've been
firmly
here.
entrenched in what they have the 4th best record in baseball, and they're in the C.
I know
because of what you've done.
These last 2 teams are really tricky because, honestly, nothing's jumping off the board for me. Like, it feels rude to put the Mets.
No, the Mets are there. What are you talking about?
Okay. Go off, King.
I just... okay, so
aren't they in the wild card as of today?
I'm going to show you... they are. I'm going to show you the 2 teams, I think. Them and them.
That's tough. This is the toughest part so far.
Okay, full disclosure, I'm thinking about the Royals, but I think the Royals are more of a success than... And they've just been kind of dipping down as of late. I think they're more of a success than the Yankees? The Yankees expected to be there. We got to get out of this page because I need to.
The Yankees did and didn't. Like the Yankees, yes, they added Juan Soto. They just came off missing the playoffs, and I know they've limped into the finish line. But they're an Anthony Volpe ground ball from being first place New York Yankees over Baltimore, who Baltimore's really good.
This is where it gets tough, Jake.
Yeah.
Kansas City lost almost 100 games last year, or did they lose 100 games last year?
I think they did. Every time we looked at Kansas City's numbers, we were blown away.
And right now, they won 50-something.
And right now they're 52-45, so they're almost at their last season win total. It's very hard to put them in the C category. I don't think I can either. The Mariners are in first place in the division, although they're slipping away. Can't put them as a C.
It's a brutal C. You can't do that.
Brewers, we can't do it.
No.
So I think the Cardinals can be there because I'm going to put the Cardinals there, even though they're back. Thank goodness, because there's too much talent on the roster and they've improved. I'm putting them on the C tier because if you were to tell them, hey, you're going to be 4.5 games back of the Brewers, right?
Dude, how about this as well? They have a minus 38 run differential. If we're going to some other numbers, I know this has felt so much better for St. Louis, but this is
as of late,
right? And if we're giving all these other wild card teams this should happen,
I think. Look, if you told them you guys are going to be, a wild card team, and there's a lot of people breathing down your neck,
yeah,
I think they would say, yeah. That's not overachieving. So I'm
coming off last year.
I know last year was really bad, but they've had some disastrous stuff
they might be back.
Yeah. Are there any baseball pundits slamming the table for St. Louis?
Me and Katie Woo. That's it.
Love Katie Woo.
Jake,
so we need 9. One more team. So It's looking like Mets, Kansas City. I mean, I don't want you to be offended. Maybe the Twins are in play. They had a little more expectations than Kansas City.
I've been thinking about the Twins. I think it's between the Twins probably and the Mets.
Oh, the Mets are so hard to grade.
They have so much. They're so fun and dumb at the same time that I can't put them in the C tier.
Yeah, I think Twins, man.
If it's between those two,
the Royals and Mets are similar stories, expectation-wise.
I'm in for the Twins. I mean, they're
I like the Twins though.
I do too, and I think if they get Royce Lewis back at full strength and they have a Royce Lewis, Carlos Correa, Brooks Lee infield, and Jose Miranda like manning first base, he's been crushing the ball, although he just won the IL. It'll be a different story. Yeah. Eddie Julian comes up as like a bench bat eventually when he gets things going.
Trev, I might be in on the Twins front office. They've got like young bodies cycling through.
I like the guys, first of all. Sure. So, I talk to them, and they're
political.
They're open to talking to me, which is cool. Like, we talk real ball. Like, I go in there and we talk ball, and they're not afraid to do it, so I respect that. I think they're a little hamstrung by, like, payroll restrictions. Right. So, like, I can't give them, like, this excellent grade because they haven't made a ton of moves. And they've whiffed on some. They've hit on some as well. They've done well drafting. I'll put the Twins in the C tier.
Okay.
That'll be the last one.
And we'll do one last final sweep.
I'll tell you why I give the Twins this real quick.
Okay.
The starting pitching hasn't been that good. Pablo's regressed a ton.
Yeah.
He needs to get going. His off-speed stuff has not worked this year at all. Bailey Ober has been more shaky. He was the model of consistency last year, just a bunch of quality starts. Joe Ryan's been really good. But then after that, like Simeon's Wood Richardson has been pretty good. He's had some really good starts. Do I love him in a playoff series? I don't know. And then the guys they have brought up behind him, they just haven't really done it yet. So I'm okay with that.
Fun deadline coming for them. Can't bring on a lot of money. They have assets. I like how the Twins look, man. That lineup goes.
Okay, so this one's, I think, for the next, this is the B tier.
B tier, 7 teams.
This is overachieving.
Yeah, or
just having a great year.
You get a good grade,
I think the Kansas City Royals had to be our first one.
Royals,
because they've just improved by so many games. Bobby Witt Jr. is absolutely turned the corner. He is a bona fide superstar. And if someone can find the clip of me saying I'd rather have Bobby Witt Jr. than Julio Rodriguez, this was years ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't have great reasons for it, I don't think. I think it was more of a positional thing. Hey, give me the shortstop.
The way you said Julio was a little white there.
I didn't say Julio.
It sounded a little Julio-y.
If I did, it's because Eddie Julian.
I think you rolled off a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not trying to cancel you.
Yeah, don't cancel me.
Reverse cancel.
We don't need that.
Well, speaking of canceled, I'll throw my Yankees in the mix.
Yeah.
It's everything we said. You can't give them an A, although they had it for a little bit. Well, they had an A, and then they just failed 2 tests.
No, it wasn't just today. You're not going to give them an A if they win today's game.
No.
You're going to say, hey, you guys were hot, and then you had a horrible 3-week stretch.
3 weeks, which is baseball.
Where it was
horrible.
It's a little past baseball.
Yeah, a little
past
baseball.
There was the worst
little
team
past
for 3
baseball.
weeks.
But I'm fine with that.
I think the Mets deserve to be in this tier as well. They're 3 games over 500.
They're in the dance as of today.
They've clawed their way back because the whole talk was who are they going to sell? What's Pete Alonso? Who's he going to be playing for? The Mariners were like, we want Pete, and we're like, no, please don't go there.
No,
or go there. Thank goodness. Whatever side you were on. And now Jose Iglesias is the number 1 Latin pop star in all of baseball. He's going to be performing here at the All-Star game. He's hitting 400. He just hit 2 homers the other day.
Yeah.
Him and Harrison Bader both hit 2 homers.
Live?
Decline.
Oh.
Love you, Liv. I'm in the middle. I'm cooking, babe.
I'm cooking,
babe. You know me.
He's paying bills.
So where was I? Oh, Mets are there.
Mets, and I'll keep it rolling. The Dodgers.
Good job.
Great job. They're in the playoffs.
Damn, Dodgers should have been in C tier.
You think so?
We can go back, can't we? Or should we go back now?
That's tough. We can. Who would you bump up? The Twins? It's tough because they're a first-place team.
Yeah. All right, we'll go Dodgers.
I think they're
here.
B, man.
You know what we could say about them?
They're first place by a lot.
They're getting the job done despite.
Right.
Do you see what's on their IL? Glass now.
Yeah.
Kershaw, who's on his way back. Dustin May has an esophagus tear. What's up with that? You look like you've done that before. Tony Gonsolin's been out. Tyler Glasnow's out. Yamamoto, your $400 pitcher who's never stepped foot.
Yeah.
He's out. Walker Buehler has had a setback.
Bobby
Miller, you got demoted, and you are still in first place.
very much in first place. You can't give them a C, but I think that's a fair landing spot.
And they're going to, they're going to go after people. Like it's either Crochet or Flaherty for them. I would bet a lot on it. Okay.
How about, I think another easy one, Seattle. They are in first place. Congrats, Seattle. You play in your division. That's all you can do. I think as baseball fans, seeing the start Houston and Texas had, that everyone feels like we should be sitting here with the Mariners 8 games up, and it's a game and a half. But they are in first place in their division.
Coach, it's the same old song and dance. Not a song of fire and ice, which we like. Their pitchers have the best whip in baseball. Their starting pitchers. The relievers are the 3rd best whip in baseball. Perfect.
Yeah.
What's your offense doing?
Yum.
Oh, we wanted to cut down on strikeouts. We're dead last in strikeout percentage, by the way. We're 27th in OPS, 29th in average, 26th in runs scored.
Dude, they come out of the break with
What are we doing?
They come out of the break with Houston. I feel like I've seen that before.
But you are in first place.
You're in first place. Hey, it's a long season.
So we're giving you the B tier right now.
If playoffs were tomorrow, you've won the AL West. You are a B. So how many teams do we have B now?
So
5?
We're going Phillies in this tier. Another first place team.
This is the hot one. You and I aren't eye to eye on this.
I am eye to eye because this roster. I'm gonna make you eye to eye on this. This roster. This roster is. They're supposed to be the best in baseball. They are a complete roster, bro. They really are.
Yeah.
Now you can say, hey, Chris Sanchez came out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Keeps growing.
He keeps growing. But you already had Nola, Wheeler, Suarez. You already had the bullpen. You already had this lineup that you've constructed and extended. They're there forever. They've dealt with some injuries, but and they're in first place and they have the best record in baseball. I get that. But I also think the regular season means nothing to them or the fan base. It doesn't.
It's true once they hit the playoffs, they are a World Series or bust team.
That's why the Dodgers are here too. What are the Dodgers behind them? They have a 62-34 record. The Dodgers have a 56-41. So they're 5 games back. That's kind of a lot. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
the Dodgers and Phillies expected to be in the playoffs. They're doing fine. I think they're having a great year, but we're talking expectations here, Jake. Okay. I think if you said, hey, man, the only thing that would bump them up is if you said, hey, you're going to be 9 games up on the Braves come the All-Star break. Then they're like, oh.
That's what's tough for me because they are best record in baseball.
But we can only have 3 in the A tier.
I know. And that's where the expectations are a big part, and the discussion goes all around. And I guess if you're thinking of bell curve, the original tier list, like if the Phillies are a B+ and the Braves are a C, doesn't that check out?
Yeah. You put the Braves in the C.
Both of these teams expected to be in the playoffs. Sure, the Braves think they should have that record. Philly, we've waited to see this regular season, and not to throw our own thoughts under the bus, but if the Phillies lose in the DS, this has been a bigger failure than their last 2 seasons, 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's all about the playoffs for them.
This season would be viewed as disappointing.
Yeah.
I want to make Phillies fans feel better.
Please.
Baltimore, you're also on the B list.
Yeah.
Like, the expectations are there. Like, you guys continue to surprise us with all your blonde-haired, long, freaking handsome frat boy-looking prospects that you bring up.
Stop it.
You made great trades. You got Corbin Burns over there. He's been incredible.
Hit them with the MJ. Stop it. Fuck them kids.
Yeah, for real. No shit. So, look, they're having a great year. 58-38. I believe that's the second best record in all of baseball. And
if they end up in the wild card, that's disappointing.
They won the division last year. They're one game up on the Yankees, who are also in this tier. So that you can give them a B or a B+, whatever.
And it could have been 1 game the other way.
No, it would have been tied.
With 1 ground ball. No, it would have flipped.
No, if they're 1 game back and they won that game, it would have been tied.
Weren't they tied going into today?
Today they were by games back. It was 0 today. Yeah.
Yeah, because if the Yankees won,
but they haven't played 2 games. I don't know.
I don't know how Yankees are today. I believe 2 back in the loss column.
We're not even going there, bro.
We're not going there.
So they're our last team in
Kansas
the
City,
B tier.
Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Seattle, Phillies, Baltimore. That does make the Phillies feel better,
right? And then we come to the A tier.
Deductive reasoning. Some people have figured it out because there's 3 teams left. But tell them about them.
I think we should start off with the most obvious one. And who are they?
I think it's it's Cleveland.
Well, Cleveland.
I think it's Cleveland.
Cleveland is 58-37. They've had an incredible offensive run. Their pitching has been borderline atrocious. I'm talking about their starting pitching.
Yeah.
It's been bad. They've sent guys down. They've had injuries.
That guy sticks, man.
Their bullpen has been otherworldly. They have 6-7 dudes that they could count on at any given moment in the game, and that's what's gotten them through this year. Plus, they got guys raking, dude.
Yeah. Quan,
you
Ramirez,
tell Quan
Naylor
to swing harder, and all of a sudden he's like a legit elite hitter in the big leagues. Naylor has been I wish he was in the home run derby. I think he might be one of my favorite hitters. He is. How many RBIs does he have? I'm looking it up right now.
Josh Naylor RBI guess.
Beavers.
I'm going 61.
I think it's higher. I think it's like 65.
BBD's on research.
And I think Jose Ramirez might have 70.
Yeah, J-Ram has a ton.
So they've just gotten it done, man. And their over-under was 82
they're close
and
to
a half.
70 RBIs for Josh Naylor.
70 for Josh Naylor. What about for J-Ram?
Give me 73.
It's higher.
Looking.
76.
Jake,
41.
you took the under. It was
77.
Jeez, 77 by J-Ram.
They're driving in runs. I know.
78.5 was the over-under coming into the year, people. You said ready to be wrong playing the odds games. So this must have been one of the later ones that we did. You had too many overs. Jimmy and I both took the over. They are, I think, if you ask any Guardians fan and you said, hey, your starting pitching is going to be probably the worst in all the baseball. I have some statistics. They're not the worst, but getting close. 25th in WHIP, 24th in ERA. They walk way too many people. They're 24th in walks per 9.
But read the bullpen stats.
They give up third. They're the worst team in homers per 9. And then the bullpen stats, ones across the board, bro.
Yeah.
Offense.
That's nuts.
Borderline top 10 offense. Wow. And with guys playing, like we just mentioned, 70 and higher runs driven in prior to the All-Star break. So I think they're on the A list for, expectations for sure.
When Trev says ones across the board for the bullpen, ERA, WHIP, K per 9, home runs per 9, and hits per 9. That's
sick.
That's everything.
It's sick. Moving on, the next team, I think. Let's go Brewers.
Here's what I was gonna say. I think this year has cemented Cleveland as the Milwaukee of the AL Central.
I think they're better. They're better than that.
Their
go
organizations.
Back to 2012 or
something.
That's true. Their record is incredible.
These organizations have sneaky run the divisions for a bit now.
New managers. Stephen Vogt takes over a young Guardians team, guides them.
Yeah,
because that's what he does. Pat Murphy comes into the Brewers job, bench coach. The guy in front of you is the fucking headlining Lollapalooza for the Cubs, and you're just okay. I guess I'll be the manager. Thanks. And you trade away your ace.
Yeah,
your closer gets hurt.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? All of a sudden, we just have a defensive mastermind team. Yali playing at an MVP level.
Last year, it looked like they had a crop of freshmen, literally their terms, that looked like wasn't going to happen.
They were okay. They brought new guys up this year. Terang's been great.
Didn't know. I mean, dude, Joey Weimer used to be the highlight, and now he's kind of out.
They have. I mean, what are they at right now?
Joey Ortiz.
They're first in the Central. The Brewers are 55-42. Their over/under this year was 76.5. This was my lock.
76.5. That's just.
We all took the over. I put out a tweet and I said I think this team has a better chance of winning 90 games than how they were constructed before Corbin Burns was hit. That's just stupid. I was kind of joking about that.
It's cocksure.
But this is what they do.
I like you guys, but if Stephen Vogt and Pat Murphy hit me up right now, steaks and whiskey,
they'd hit me up.
See in 3 days.
Me and Voter. And they're so again for Milwaukee before we move on to the number one team. you expect pitching from them. So the bullpen's been good. 4th in ERA, 7th in WHIP, 8th in hits per 9. They're not striking many people out, but they're getting the job done. And then it's been their offense, man. They're 8th in runs, 3rd in OBP, so they're getting on, and they're 2nd in stolen bases. They have zigged when everyone else has zagged with going younger and more athletic.
Yeah.
We see that from time to time, and the team they're about to talk about as well is sort of doing that. They're ahead of, they're always one step ahead of every other team in the league.
Well, and I've said this on Talking Baseball a lot, but as I looking at Milwaukee and Cleveland back to back, we've got teams that are hitting, which, okay, I'm not bringing a ton to the table when I tell you need a team hitting. I think you need a deep lineup. Although Cleveland's not super deep, although they've had guys go on runs between Freeman and some other bodies.
David Fry's out of nowhere, although he's taken a dive.
But still, I mean, what they've gotten from him. As I look at those two team outlooks, the bullpen for both of these teams has been great.
Yep.
They've had good hitting, which, okay, that seems
timely hitting
obvious
for both of them.
I think both those teams also play defense.
They do.
The Brewers pride themselves on defense. And then I think for Cleveland, just if you go around, like Kwan is a Gold Glover. Jose Ramirez every year plays good defense. Jimenez is a Platty Glove type guy. That I think if you go around those teams, defense, bullpen, and enough hitting.
Yes.
Both those teams starting pitching kind of bad.
Milwaukee, Brandon Woodruff didn't start the year.
See,
right? So you trade your ace, and then we lose Woodruff. Robert Gasser's a guy who you brought up. He looked pretty dang good. All of a sudden, Tommy John. DL Hall, the guy you traded for, he's been out since April. Wade Miley out since April. So, they've dealt with their share of injuries, so that explains why their starting pitching hasn't been up to par. But, you're getting some performances.
Dude, their bullpen looks like almost the Brewers are testing themselves. Hey, do you think we can make an elite bullpen with McGill, Hudson, Peguero, Piamps, Hobie Milner? I think there's Strinsky in there.
There's not one player in their pitching staff, bullpen or starters, that they drafted. This is all the acquisitions.
Hey, you guys screw up these pitchers, and then we'll take them and we'll make them great. That leaves one team, Trev.
And this is I've been hitting on this.
You're
team
on this
a lot. It's the Boston Red Sox. The expectations for them weren't great. I think a lot of people at the beginning of the year just pointed right at the starting pitching. It was like, what is this?
Right.
A bunch of guys you've used as swingmen. Are they starters now? We kind of saw that throughout baseball. We're seeing these guys transition. Yeah. We just didn't think there was enough. Like Brian Bayo, who we get famously get trolled for.
Right.
What is he? He hasn't even been.
He hasn't been
good.
A guy this year.
It's been everybody else. Their over-under was at 80.5. We all took the under. This was after Giolito gets hurt. They actually changed it to 77.5.
Yeah.
So we thought we were getting a 3-game cushion here on the under, and then they have just come on like absolute fire. A bunch of young guys playing good hustle ball.
Athletes.
Athletes
That's
out there.
Cora's whole thing. Give me athletes.
And then...
Which is crazy because you got to hit.
The pitching.
Yeah, no, the pitching. Again, I've referenced it probably too many times now when we do our TPPs before the season. If you told us, hey, here's an exercise, how can the Red Sox have a top 5 pitching staff? I'd be like, okay, this is before Giolito. You'd say Giolito, he threw his most innings last year. He's nasty this year. He has an awesome year. Bayo has a full-blown breakout. Cutter Crawford was actually very good last year, and he's continued that. And then I guess if we needed to, we would have thrown Houck or Piv in the mix, but we wouldn't have believed in it. This would have been like fantasy land. Houck had an argument to start the All-Star game.
They've just they've done it. They've basically been able. They've been able to start their top 5 guys most of the year, which I think is really
that helps.
Which is really good
because that means
teams.
you're healthy and performing.
Yes, Houck and Cutter Crawford have been there every single start. Bayo's got 16 starts. Pavetta's 14. Cooper Criswell's got 13. And then they have a couple other guys. Garrett Whitlock gets hurt. He started off 4 games with a 1.96, so you take him out of the mix as well. And then Kenley's been really good. He's been great at the back end.
Awesome.
They have some guys in the bullpen that are shutting it down. Bernardino's been great. Boozer. And then for me, it's really like the young guys that they put out there that have made them
Connor
athletic.
Wong, dog.
Connor Wong's been great. You mentioned you loved the Tyler O'Neill signing. So, like, Yoshida, who like we thought was going to be like their guy, he's like kind of just like off to the side, like an extra piece, a depth piece in the lineup. And you got Wilyer Abreu, Jaron Duran, Tyler O'Neill.
Casas has been out. If we told you this Red Sox team was in a good spot, we'd say Casas is one of the best young first basemen in baseball.
Rob Refsnyder coming in, playing that like role that he plays, doing it, and they're just. It's a lot of fun. We can go by the numbers here. 8th in average, 6th in OPS, 6th in stolen bases. Their starting pitchers are 3rd in WHIP, 5th in ERA, 5th in hits per 9. Their bullpen is 10th in WHIP, and most of that is because they don't walk anybody.
Right.
The lowest walks per 9 in all of baseball. They're giving up some hits, but they're not putting out people for free.
Yeah, I think this was. I told Trev coming in.
This is a little spicy, I think.
I told Trev coming in, I was like, hey, we should kind of line up our A and F so those aren't the debate areas because that can get a little ugly. I had Philly. You had Boston. I think both sides are laid out pretty clear. Philly's been the best team in baseball. They haven't done the full regular season dance, but I kind of agree with you. At the end of the day, their report card gets made in the postseason. That it is tough to not give them an A. They've been the best team in baseball, but they have the talent that they've always supposed to been one of the best teams in baseball. The Red Sox
in May, since the beginning of June, so through June through the All-Star break, they're 23-13, playing 10 games over 500.
Dude, and by the way, check out who they played in that time. It's not all the strongest teams. Like I know they finished with I think there's an Oakland in there and some other teams, but like. They did it against the Yankees. They did it against the Dodgers, I think. I think Philly might have been in the mix. Like, they took down San Diego. Or it starts at the top. Philly, New York. Did they win that Atlanta series? That's a 2-gamer.
They split it.
Toronto, they swept them, who they needed to.
2-3 from Cincy. Then they split a 2-gamer with Toronto. Took an L from the Padres, one of my teams. Swept Miami, beat New York, beat Oakland, and then we'll see how it goes today. I believe they won this series, so they won another series against Kansas City today.
Beat New York twice.
Against the Yankees this year, they're 4-2. I just think as far as expectations go and where they're at and where they're headed, I think this team is really fun to watch as well. So I like putting them in the A tier. I do.
8-3 in July. Yeah, I get it. I don't have a ton of fight to it. I insert a 1-minute BS speech about like I believe in Cora. I do. I know we don't know what to do. Hey, I think Andrew Bailey, the pitching coach, or whoever's pulling the pitching strings in Boston, they deserve a ton of love. Like that's not Cora's lane. Cora's lane is, hey, Rafaela, you're gonna bat ninth, figure it out, be an athlete. And he's done that, and he started to take
They were
leaps.
dealing with a ton of injuries at the beginning of the year, so everyone they were all like out of position almost. You had Rafaela playing shortstop.
Yeah.
Can't have that.
Yeah.
So, he goes back out, and he's manning center field, and he's doing great. If you wanted to do the record against the Phillies, they're 2-1, so that's how they're the A tier.
That's the separator. If you have your list in front of you, Trev, I guess can burn through it.
I will do it right now.
And yeah, let me know if there's anything that feels off. Otherwise, I think this is the final list.
So we'll go from the bottom. F tier, Toronto, massive expectations, or like good expectations at least. Not good. White Sox, Marlins, kind of like laughingstock teams right now. Yeah. Then it's like the teams that are doing bad and didn't really have expectations. A's and Rockies, like they're just doing bad, but not historically bad. Like the A's have actually won some games this year.
Their expectations are.
They were dirt cheap. The Cubs are in this D tier because of the expectations and Craig Counsell, which hasn't worked out necessarily for them. Angels, Texas. Other expectation teams, Nationals and Tigers. Then the middle tier team that's like, like we're like kind of like happy with where we're at, or the expectations match where they're at. Giants, Reds, Pirates, Rays, D-backs, Padres, Astros, Braves, Cardinals, Twins. So that's a division where like a tier where you're like, okay, like we're doing fine.
Right.
Like the Braves are in there.
Yeah.
Right? But as far as expectations, they're kind of just like, yeah, if you'd have told us this before the year, they're probably not too stoked on it.
Right.
Then in the B tier, Kansas City overachieving or a massive upgrade from last year. Yankees doing it, Mets doing it, Dodgers, Seattle, Phillies, Baltimore. Those are all the teams that are at the front of their divisions.
Yeah.
And then our A tier was the Guardians, who, again, they're winning because they're fucking raking, which no one really expected them to do. The Brewers, who are putting together this team that, again, I just feel like they're one step ahead of everybody. Like their front office deserves a lot of credit. And then it's the Red Sox.
If you had to move one team up or down in our bell curve, who would it be?
I would say probably I put Baltimore in the A.
Over the Phillies?
Over the Red Sox. I just think I thought last year was kind of flukish.
Okay.
And maybe I'm just dumb and not hip to what's going on. They won 101 games, won the division last year, but I felt like there was regression coming. And this team Gunnar Henderson is an absolute stud. They've gotten pitching where I didn't think they had enough pitching. And they went out and got Corbin Burns, which is showing that they're there. They have guys they can trade wherever they want. So I think if they make a move at the deadline, they're going to jump into that A tier because they have all of the prospect capital.
Yeah, a slippery week from the Guards, Brewers, or Red Sox. Baltimore is going to be there.
Yeah, the Cardinals are hot on the Brewers. Yeah. The Twins are hot on the Guardians. So, it's for them, I could see it. I don't think anyone's catching Baltimore. I know the Yankees were close today, but they're going to be at the top of that division, 100% in the playoffs, and they have much more of an ability than the Yankees do to improve their team.
Yeah, they have the capital. I guess, Braves being C is a little odd because it's almost the opposite of the Phillies argument. They'll get their grade come October. That feels a little off. Tigers, Nats. No, I think we're all around it. Wow, Trev. Special. This is what the people want. And now we'll talk about the whole Trump shooting. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We cannot thank you enough. Tell us what we got wrong. Tell us what we got right. Tweet at Trevor Plouffe. Say, wow, dude, you guys should do Wake and Jake more. He's better than Bailey,
yeah, why
dude.
Is Bailey on your show all the time? No offense. I don't know how our relationship is right now. We go through thick and thin. I don't know where it's at.
He hasn't mentioned you once.
You guys are Beauty and the Beast.
Crazy.
No, we did mention. Tell him, Beebs.
Wake and Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media.